Today I'd like to share with you some aspects of Belden's supply chain and how we have been challenged with disruptive technologies, new business models, and operational impacts. It'd be nice if I got the slide up. Belden is one of the older companies out there in the U.S. We started in 1902 as a wire and cable manufacturer. Since our CEO, John Stroop, joined the company in 2005, we've been strategically diversifying our product portfolio. As you can see, we started out with our main brands as Belden Products, Wire and Cable. And gradually, we've expanded those brands into well-known brands that you've seen throughout the world. For instance, Hirschman is a company that used to provide automotive controls. They still do, but we purchased part of their industrial controls and brought them into our Belden umbrella. Other names such as Lumberg, PPC, Grass Valley, some of those names that you may not be familiar with. But just for example, our recent Grass Valley acquisition, they make all of the controls that are in the broadcast stations, the 4K cameras that you see sports being televised with. Those are some of the brands, and we compete with Sony with those cameras. So we have found that as we diversified our product portfolio, we could no longer operate as a regional manufacturing and sales and marketing company. So we diversified into 4 business platforms. And obviously with these 4 platforms, global platforms, we've had some disruption in our supply chain. So we went from operating as, for instance, in the Americas and just manufacturing, distributing products with manufacturing facilities within the Americas and basically shipping that only in the Americas to focusing on specific product lines globally and shipping it from the Americas to everywhere else, or shipping it from China to Europe. As this slide will show, is several of our different products in each of our platforms. One new platform that we've added is our network security with our recent acquisition of Tripwire earlier this year. Tripwire is a company that provides industrial networking security. So, for instance, when we have different security data centers or data centers that have security measures, Tripwire is the intelligence that tells you when something has gone wrong. So if you're supposed to have different transactions during the day coming from different areas of the world, if something is not what it's supposed to be, it's like tripping over that tripwire, and it will tell your IT folks what, something's gone wrong, you have to check on it. It'll shut down the system so that no viruses are attacking that system. So with the recent troubles that have gone on with, say, Target, the credit card fraud, even with our governmental intelligence programs, this is what Tripwire provides, is the software to prevent that. And this kind of lays out our current revenue for Belden. And as you can see, about 10, 12 years ago, 70 to 80% of our revenue came from wire and cable, whereas today, over half of our revenue comes from other products. So network connectivity, software, industrial connectivity, other areas of the business besides wire and cable. So in order to diversify our portfolio, our product portfolio, anytime you buy something, you're going to need money. So in 2009, our CEO, John Stroop, came to my team and said, we have an answer to our cash flow, and it's sitting on your shelf. About $75 million of inventory was sitting on our shelves. So he asked my team to create a material pool system using our Kanban system to lower our inventory. So we went from a made-to-stock company to a made-to-order company. We only make very few products. Some of our high-moving products, wire and cable, network connectivity products that we put on the shelf ready to ship. Other products are made specifically to your specifications, to your requirements. So what did this MPS system do? It was a web-based system that was in every plant, every distribution center. So when we shipped a product to a customer, it triggered our manufacturing facility to remake that product. In essence, we were able to hold a much smaller amount of inventory based on our current cycle time of making that product. So if it took 5 days to make that product, we knew that once that inventory was pooled, that when we send the trigger to our manufacturing plant, that they would start making it, and 5 days later, plus a day of shipping, it'll show up on our shelves. This kind of shows what our Richmond DC looked like before we implemented our MPS. So a little story, I was in the distribution center at that time, and our put-away operator had to follow our picking operator so that when they picked product for a shipment, it would actually create a space for us to put the new product in. So our inbound receiving area was just flooded with inventory. We actually rented 10,000 square feet of additional external warehouse space to put inventory in. So our manufacturing facilities were just pushing inventory through. They were just stuffing our warehouse full of inventory. So there was no space in our distribution center. And this is 3 months after we implemented our MPS. So as you can see, there's empty shelves everywhere. At that time that we took this picture, we had about 60% open locations in our distribution center. So the total results of our MPS was on-time delivery actually improved, because now we're making product for customer orders instead of making products for inventory. So sometimes our manufacturing facilities were making product for inventory that tied up their machines for days. When a new order came in, we couldn't open up that machine to make that new order. So now we were able to resolve that. Our quick turns, our inventory turn rate, went from 4.9 in 2009 to today of 9.4. Our finished goods inventory was reduced by 41 million. Now the open locations, you see that 13%. That's a little bit deceiving because we actually moved different product type from our Canadian locations down to our US locations. So that product type, we were making smaller reels, whereas our industrial locations are making wire and cable more for like the mining industry, oil and natural gas industry, and they have reels that are taller than me, which is like 48 inches. And then the percentage of production applied to customer orders is now over 90%. And today, we continue to improve our inventory utilizing our ABCXYZ methodology, looking at our quicker turn inventory, what customers order, the frequency of their order, so that we can be more prepared to put that type of inventory first in front of the DC, and secondly, we stock more of the AX inventory, the quicker moving, higher turn, higher frequency inventory. So with our focus on inventory, that brought some risks to our focus on our customer. Because normally if you lessen the inventory, you have a risk of lowered on-time delivery. So we had to place a priority on our on-time delivery. Hence, we had to focus more on our monthly SIOP process. SIOP, if you're not familiar with the term, it's listed up there, Sales, Inventory, and Operations Planning. Some people just call it S&OP. But we put the inventory in there to emphasize that we have to make sure we keep an eye on our inventory. So part of this process is having our product line managers, our sales team, get with our operations and materials planning team to give us a forecast. What are you focusing on? What product lines are you pushing this month? And what is our marketing team actually marketing to our distribution channels? So they actually give us a 12-month demand cycle that we look at quarterly. So we revise that on a monthly basis, but really focusing on that quarter, what we're going to do. And we use that for our capacity planning for each of our manufacturing facilities down to the cell level. And more recently, we've gotten down to the machine level. So what we've found is that when we look at the cell level of planning, what you see is where the red is you see some areas that don't have enough work or have too much work. So this allows us to level load our incoming, our demand to each of our manufacturing facilities throughout the U.S. And one of the things that we measure ourselves on is our on-time delivery to customer request date. So before, we had our on-time delivery metric internally that says, okay, we're going to hit 98% of our orders. When you place this order and you get X amount of time based on our cycle time of each product, if we hit that internally, we're good to go. However, we've since changed that about a year ago where our senior leadership team said, well, it's not good enough for you to measure what your internal metric is. What you should be measuring is what the customer measures you by. So we looked at our on-time delivery to what our customer request date is. And as you can see in the beginning, we had a tough time with that. But as we started looking at the process, improving on our processes, and improving on our communication with our customer, we were able to improve that to now getting relatively close to our 90% target. And another metric that we use is what our distributors, how our distributors rate us. So we have our top 10 distributors that sell our products. So we manufacture products, we sell it into the distribution channel, and the distribution channel sells it to our end customers. So we take a look at what our top 10 customers are and communicate with them, what is your rating of our on-time delivery for Belden? So every month, Logan, our director of materials, gets this chart, gets this feedback from our customers that tells him how his team is doing. And some of the other things that are disruptors to our supply chain has been governmental regulations. So I wanted to touch on one regulation that has impacted our industry significantly. And initially it was CSA 2010, and then it didn't get rolled out till 2011. As you know how governments go, government regulations go, it was kind of delayed. So in 2012, we really felt the impact of this regulation. So what this regulation tries to do is it tries to increase the safety of our transportation system by putting measurements in place for truck drivers or anybody with a CDL. And part of that says that you're only allowed driving on the road for X amount of hours. And then after that, what they added was you have to take a break for at least 14 hours or whatever that time frame is, or 10 hours off duty before you get back on the road. And during the week, you're only allowed driving for a total amount of hours. Obviously, that improves the safety of our highways and streets, but what that did was that caused a huge shortage of drivers. Because now what could be a one-day lane, so a driver could stay on the road for, and I'm exaggerating, maybe, 18 hours, and now they have to get off the road after a 11-hour drive. So they could be part of the way into that lane, and then somebody else has to take over. So what we saw was a huge increase in cost in transportation. So anything that moves, you realize even your mail that comes to your house, it moves by a truck driver. So that increased the cost of our mail, that increased the cost of our shipments to and from each of the plants and to our customers. So the only thing that this does, besides safe highways, is probably lessening the amount of junk mail that you got at home. Now the last thing I'll talk about is our transportation regulation that is being pushed through right now. So because of the greenhouse gases that you've heard so much about, the government is trying to mandate that instead of 6 miles per gallon, each of these trucks would have to achieve almost 10 miles to the gallon. So what this will do is cause the whole industry to either fix up their trucks, if that's possible, or to buy new trucks. So eventually your costs will go up, our costs will go up for our fleet trucks, and then each LTL company out there will be increasing their costs. So those are just some of the disruptors that we've seen at Belden, throughout my span at Belden. It's not only been caused internally by our company's strategic moves, but also by being more competitive in the market, as well as some of the regulations that we've had to face throughout the supply chain. And I'm sure, as you all know, anytime you're in supply chain, every year there's a different challenge.